Hello everyone, my name's Lorraine Bell. I manage Fife Historic Buildings Trust, and it's great to have an opportunity to talk to you today about how we in Fife have faced the challenges that have been thrown at all of us this year. We are a regional building preservation trust. We've been going for just over 20 years. To give you a bit of an overview, we get our funding from a range of sources. We have core funding from Fife Council, which is extremely welcome, especially at this time. We have funding from projects, building restoration projects that we develop, a couple of which were just about to go on site and had to stop when lockdown happened, and some others that were in development. We also earn income from properties that we let out, from our holiday lets, and you'll hear from my colleague about those shortly, and also from artist studios. And that was really quite a focus of work at the start of the lockdown, to work with our artist tenants there to find out how they were coping and how they would be able to survive this period, to still make money and yes, pay rent to us. The pandemic and the restrictions here in Scotland have impacted on everything, but in different ways. And everyone in the team has done a fantastic job of adapting and finding new ways to get work done. We haven't done everything that we planned to do this year, but we have done a lot. It maybe has taken us longer, but we've been extremely fortunate, and it's good to have a chance for me and my colleagues to tell you a bit about that today.
Hi, my name is Beth and I am the Holiday Weddings and Marketing Consultant for Fife Historic Buildings Trust. Fife Historic Buildings Trust have 3 holiday apartments in Fife, Kinghorn Town Hall, John McDowell Stewart View in Dyser, and also Cooper Borough Chambers. 2020 was expected to be a really significant year for the holiday lets at Fife Historic Buildings Trust. We were booked up quite a lot with guests coming from all across the world. Unfortunately, we were forced to close our doors. Along with the lockdown came a lot of extra work managing the bookings and the holiday lets. During the lockdown, I spent a lot of time researching all the different policies and procedures and the ways that other countries had handled reopening, and get an idea of what we will need to do, what I'll need to do to ensure that the holiday homes could be open safely for both housekeepers, the guests, and also for the local community. I spent a lot of time building all the risk assessments, COVID specific, for reopening and to make them for our guests, for our staff and for our housekeepers. After that, I had built all the policies and procedures. I started to train the housekeepers virtually on Zoom, which is something that we're all aware of now, and I made sure that there was lots of open discussions to see what they're comfortable with. It was at a level the housekeepers were happy with, and the guests could still, when we were able to open, to still open and have a good experience. There was quite a lot of extra equipment that was required to be purchased for the holiday lets. I had to kind of get big sanitized stations, steam cleaners to make sure that the fabric can be cleaned, and lots of clean equipment to make sure that there was no cross-contamination between different zones in the holiday homes. Throughout the period of lockdown and actually beyond, I have spent a lot of time in webinars and web chats with people within the industry discussing marketing techniques. From these discussions, it's been able to follow that guidance and their recommendations on how to market and how to message appropriately without being too insensitive to the times.
We've also been busy this year at Silverburn Park near Leven, and there we're part of a great team working with another network member, Fife Employment Access Trust. They're a charity known as FEET, whose work is helping people with mental health problems to get back into the workplace, and they do a lot of that through landscape work. And so they've got this fantastic vision for Silverburn Park, which is owned by Fife Council, in a great position on the edge of Leven, a woodland park right near the sea, and a place that they can really help their clients with active work to help them build their skills for the future. So our role is to help them with a building at the centre of the park, the old flax mill, which they want to develop as their base, but also a place for them to do their activities with their clients, but also a backpacker hostel for visitors, a cafe and restaurant, and artist studios. I think what's been great there is that the design team, despite being on and off furlough at different times, have been able to continue focusing on this project, and also through the contract to make the building clear and safe so that we could get into it and get a better understanding of its features. We've all seen a lot and felt it ourselves about how important it's been to connect with nature or historic places at this time. And that's really been evident at Silverburn, where visitors have really enjoyed getting to the park, getting to the beach, enjoying the woodlands, enjoying the buildings around them. I think that gives us hope for the future, because we see and we sense how important this project will be, even more important as this part of Fife finds its way forward after the pandemic. One project that was immediately affected by the lockdown was our work at St Andrew's Church, Lochgelly, where we were working with social enterprise Rockgelly and Fife Council, who own the building, to develop the Fife Regional Climbing and Bouldering Centre. The vision there was to create a centre for national competitive climbing, to really attract exciting competitions to the area, and through that to inspire people locally to have a go at climbing, develop team working skills, confidence skills, and to develop their potential through sport. We were on site for half a day and then lockdown started, but after about 3 months or so we were able to get back on site again and have made good progress on site since then. The other key project that we had underway was in Inverkeithing. We were running a 5-year heritage regeneration scheme, effectively a townscape heritage if you're familiar with those. And that was an area where we, again, very quickly saw the impact of the pandemic. For private owners of buildings, suddenly their circumstances may have been very different. They may have been out of work. They may have been more cautious about spending money at this time. So we've had to take a different approach there, and we've got time to do so. It's a 5-year scheme. Again, a lot of support and appreciation from the funders for what we have been able to achieve during the year. For me in Inverkeithing, I was focused on a project to develop a former townhouse. It's an underused community building, but people locally had a really strong vision to develop it, if it was accessible, into a community hub at the heart of their expanding town. The building's wonderful, but really difficult to get around. It's got about 5 different doors, I think 3 stairwells, some of them very steep. So the plan is to put a lift in to make it more accessible. What people told us that if we can do that, they've got so many ideas about what they want to do with that building. Inverkeithing's expanding, and they wanted somewhere locally that they could have events, that they could put on classes, that they could try new things. We were developing that when everything hit, and everything has continued, but yes, of course, much more slowly. But we have made progress and got to the stage where we have submitted planning and listed building consents and a building warrant, and are waiting for those to be dealt with now. And we do still hope to be on site next year. What's also fabulous about Inverkeithing Townhouse was the great response we got from people locally. We were unsure how involved people would want to be. People had a lot going on in their lives. Maybe Inverkeithing Townhouse wasn't their top priority. The response we got back really was amazing, and their continued engagement has just been so appreciated and helped us see that the work that we do really does matter. So I think that's been incredibly fantastic to be able to help do that and to think beyond where we are now to the future.
Hi, my name is Emma Griffiths. I am the Training and Development Officer with Fife Historic Buildings Trust. I was recruited in 2019 and began with Fife Historic Buildings Trust in January of this year. I had to go into quarantine at home on my return from that, following which the entire country joined me. This is a familiar story. I was somewhat floored and flummoxed when I realised that my job, which was all about engagement, meeting people, getting people enthusiastic about their heritage, helping them understand it, was going to be seriously compromised by this state of affairs. However, that didn't last too long. I thought about the lecture that we'd given to begin our borough survey project, which was a big component of the activity plan. That initial lecture to start off the borough survey was on a night when it was raining quite hard and there were gale force winds. So I thought, well, maybe we can take elements of that lecture and make them into podcasts, and then in that way get those messages, get that interest, get that excitement going. So then I began on quite a steep learning curve of how to make podcasts. One thing for me that was very difficult was I'm just naturally not techie, and I'm not very good on audio editing at all. Well, I had no experience, and I kept looking, kept hoping that somebody would turn up who was like, oh yeah, I know how to use it. I said, yeah, I'll help you with that. However, there's lots and lots of training out there. Most of it's free. So I went to a training by Museums and Galleries Scotland, and I learned a lot from Culture Perth and Kinross. There's an app called Anchor FM, and it is very easy to upload audio onto it. But the best thing about Anchor FM is that it distributes your podcasts for you. So if you make a little packaged up piece of sound that's the equivalent of a radio program, it will put it onto Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM itself. We have now published our series of 10 podcasts. They are listened to in 10 countries. Each week we get new listeners. That's something that I don't think we would ever have been able to do face to face. Another way that we have continued with our community engagement has been to work closely with the Inverkeithing Local History Society and with our consultants who are delivering the Community Borough Survey. The lead consultant is an archaeologist, Gavin McGregor of Northlight Heritage, and he has appointed sub-consultant Tom Turpey, who is an academic at the University of Stirling, but he's a medievalist. And Tom just found all these resources that were available that you could access remotely. So those two consultants did a brilliant job in helping people who'd signed up and said, yes, I want to be involved in this community research project. And we arranged a weekly drop-ins. We're now, I think, meeting 25 or 26, something like that. And there's a real esprit de corps, and they're on Zoom. But it's been enormously rewarding. People are so excited at pieces of information they have found, and they are making the history of Inverkeithing come alive. Certainly, some of them said, oh, it's been really good through the lockdown to have this to look forward to. It keeps me going. It's my focus of the week, which is just tremendously rewarding if that's what you're facilitating.
So how have we made it through 2020? There's lots of reasons for it. Some of it is luck. A lot of it has been the sheer effort and imagination of everybody in the team, and I am incredibly proud of how they have worked and how they've worked together with all our partners to move forward this year. Our funders as well, who've been really supportive, really flexible, and also our trustees who reacted incredibly well and got to grips with the Zoom technology for board meetings, etc. Private sector organisations really having to navigate furlough and be in and out of work at different times, but always coming back to the project and wanting to move things forward and wanting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. And also, of course, the network, the Heritage Trust network. It has been great to be able to go along to a Heritage Natter, to get their perspective and find out how they're doing. And that's what's so valuable about the network, that you meet people. Although we've achieved a lot this year, we're by no means complacent about the future. We know there's lots of challenges ahead. We're likely to be working in a very different environment for some time to come. It's been the ability to make a difference that's really driven us this year. We've constantly asked ourselves, why does what we do matter? And why should it matter to people, especially at this time when there's so much else going on? We can see very clearly that history matters, historic buildings matter to people, getting out in nature matters to people. The projects you're all working on across the country are all giving people an opportunity to get involved in that, something to develop their skills, something to bring their community together, or something to help their local economy. That matters more than ever, and we hope to keep delivering that in Fife, and wish you all the best with your projects in the future too.